All right, everybody. I never prep these Bible studies. Welcome to Thursday Bible study. I never prep them. I never read them ahead of time, but I did this time because I was eating a mango. So I'd walk back and forth and eat, and then go through the peel and go back and forth. And as I was reading, I said, "Well, let me read it in the New Living. Let me see if I can go ahead and understand it enough to go through in the King James, because y'all know how usually I'll read through in the King James, but then I'll switch over to New Living. And well, let me see if y'all see it. Crowds of the sick people, blind, lame, paralyzed, lay on porches. One of the men lying there had been sick for 38 years. In these lay great multitude of impotent folk, paralyzed, blind, halt, withered, waiting for the moving of the water. For an angel went down at a certain season into the pool and troubled the water. Whosoever then first, after the troubling of the water, stepped in, was made whole of whatsoever disease he had had. And a certain man was there which had infirmity 38 years. Well, I sure did a lot of reading on that one, didn't I, compared to the other one? Yeah, verse 4. And you hear that, I've always told you it's a watered down version and there are verses missing, but I've never come across the verses that are missing. You can, I'm sure, Google it, and they'll, somebody will give you a deep study on all the verses that are missing and so forth. But that's one that's missing. And I don't know if I've ever caught that before when I've just been like reading through New Living Translation for y'all. And just missed a vert, like didn't pick up on the fact that you went from 3 to 5, because I didn't pick up on it when I was reading it. Didn't pick up. I don't look at the numbers. My eyes are moving with 5 covered porches. Crowds of sick people, blind, my eyes don't look at the numbers. So has that ever happened before? And I just didn't catch it because that's the first time I've ever caught it in one of our Bible studies. All right. Anyway, cheerio. Anyway, where am I from? From Polk County, Florida. Then said Daniel to Melzar, whom was the prince of the eunuchs, had set over. So now that he has a name, the prince of the eunuchs, his name is Melzar. So, and he was over Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Prove thy servants, I beseech thee, 10 days. So for 10 days, just give us beans to eat and water to drink. I hope they were at least seasoned a little bit. Then let, the way our bodies and faces look, you check us out and compare us to the ones that are eating the king's training meal for everybody else. And as you see fit, you make the decision. So he consented. I paraphrased all that for you because I would just read it in the King James and some of it might get lost in translation. So he consented to them in this manner and proved them 10 days. And at the end of the 10 days, their faces and their bodies appeared fairer and fatter in flesh. That's why I mentioned flesh up there, because I knew where it was going. Then all the children which did eat the portion of the king's training meal. Thus Melzar took away the portion of their training meal food and the wine that they should drink, the training meal food that the king had wanted them to have. And he gave them beans. When you look up the word pulse in Strong's Concordance, it comes up to beans. Beans are a carb and a protein, and I'm sure any of you vegans or vegetarians out there go, and it's vegan. For these 4 children, God gave them knowledge and skill in all learning and wisdom, and Daniel had understanding in all visions and dreams. So God gave them knowledge and skill in learning and wisdom. And remember, they were with the astrologers. and the soothsayers, the wise. And Daniel, though, extra, had understanding in all visions and dreams. Now it states that, yet it doesn't give us any proof that he did yet, but we know that's coming. And if you don't know, you'll soon know. And this is my favorite book because it tells you how to live in Babylon. Daniel was captive living in Babylon. Folks, we are born into slavery, into this earth that is run by Satan. And then we flounder and we make mistakes and we do everything, or I shouldn't say everything. We do many, many things that are wrong. And then the Lord calls us. And that's how it works. Not sure where I was going with all that or what brought that up, but here we go. Now, at the end of the days that the king had said he should bring them in, the prince of the eunuchs brought them before the king Nebuchadnezzar. And the king communed with them, and among them was found none like Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah. Therefore stood they before the king. I know where I was going with it. The book of Daniel just teaches you how to live in Babylon. Just do your job. Like when I walk into Publix and they tell me to wear my mask, I wear my mask. Because in my heart of hearts, that's what Daniel would have done. There's nothing in the book of Daniel about Daniel rebelling in any way, shape, form, or size against this Babylonian government, this Babylonian system, except when they tell him to not pray to his God and it's either him or the other three. I can't remember. They have to worship an image, kind of like what you would, the image of the beast, sort of. It was a golden statue of Nebuchadnezzar. So in other words, just when they would not break God's law. Is it breaking God's law for me to put on a mask if that's what is ordered by no, not one bit. And even though it's a ritual for the people that are making it a ritual, we're not participating in a ritual because we're just following the rules. It's all we're doing. And that's our job. And if you got any questions on it, just ask if that's a little confusing. It's a ritual on their end, but it's not like Christmas. So, at least in my opinion, it's not the same situation. All right, so, because as far as we're told by the government, there's this illness out there, and we do it to protect ourselves from the illness and to protect other people from the illness. That's what they're telling us. They're telling us to do this. And I'm good with it. I'm not good with it, but I do it because it's just a good way to witness. All right, anyway. So the Father knew that it was at that same hour. That's what we said yesterday. That it was the same hour that Jesus healed his son, that his son came back to life. In that same hour when Jesus said unto him, thy son liveth, and himself believeth, and his whole house. This again was a second miracle that Jesus did when he was come out of Judea into Galilee. So his miracles began When he came out of Judea, his miracles began in Galilee. Okay, interesting. I don't know if I ever like really knew that before. See, I never take tests, and I never study for tests. But if there was a test that was part of something you would have to know, and you might run across that question. What city did Jesus leave, or what city did Jesus come out of, and what city did he then go into to perform his first two miracles? That would be stuff you'd have to memorize. My brain's never memorized that before. Remember, I read John once every 2 years, so, and I think it's only stated in John. After this, there was a feast of the Jews, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. Now, there is a Jerusalem by the sheep. Now, there is at Jerusalem by the sheep market a pool, which is called in the Hebrew tongue Bethesda or Bethsaida, having 5 porches. In these lay a great multitude of people that can't walk, the maimed, the blind, um, people that are just badly damaged folks, waiting for the moving of the water. For an angel went down at certain season into the pool and troubled the water. So if New Living would have done this, at a certain time of the year into the pool would stir up the water, maybe deliver its spirit. Um, okay, this would have to be this would have to be the Holy Spirit, wouldn't it? Angels don't have powers to heal. So it's an interesting verse. You might could say, for God sent his spirit down at a certain season into the pool and troubled the water. Whosoever was the first in the troubling of the water and stepped in was made whole of whatsoever disease he had. And a certain man was there, which was who had this, withered bodied illness for 38 years or paralyzed. And when Jesus saw him lie and knew that he had been a long time in that case, and he said unto him, would you like to be made whole? And the man answered him and said, Sir, I have nobody to put me in the pool when the water is troubled, when the spirit comes into the water. But while I am coming, another steppeth down before. So anytime that I come close, somebody always gets in before me. So we'll tune in tomorrow and get the rest of the story. All right. Love y'all very much.